Our story opens with Daisy, a maid working for the Weatherwoods family. Every morning, she cleans the front entrance and waters the flower beds. But as she explains, this isn't even supposed to be her job. Watering the plants belongs to the gardener. The problem is, there are only 3 servants in this entire mansion, so they have to handle everything themselves. The reason is simple. The master's wallet is seriously tight. Daisy is clearly exhausted, wiping sweat from her face as she pushes through her chores. Meanwhile, 3 men are standing outside the front gate. One of them, Baron Fadergale, is annoyed that Daisy seems to be ignoring them. His companion asks if she can even hear them, but the Baron insists she can. Before they can press the matter, someone spots the head maid rushing their way. The head maid throws the gate open and confronts the Baron directly. She wants to know if he's come again and makes it clear what she's told him before: there will be no selling of this mansion. She tells him to go back. But the Baron calls her impudent and claims he didn't come for that today. He says he must meet the new Viscount Weatherwoods. The head maid apologizes and tells him the master is currently away. The Baron doesn't buy it. He points out this is the 3rd time she's used that excuse just this month. He's been watching the place, and the only people leaving the mansion are the 3 servants. He gestures toward the building, noting that the weather always seems strangely bad right there, and rumors are already spreading around town that this is a ghost mansion. He can't believe they're letting a once magnificent estate fall into such a shabby state. The head maid tries to stop him, but the Baron shoves right past her. He says he can't tolerate this anymore. If his dear friend, the previous Viscount, knew his mansion had fallen into such ruin, he'd be heartbroken. Looking around the hall, the Baron mutters that time really flies. It's already been 4 years since the old Viscount died in the Magic War, and the memories are clearly weighing on him. The head maid follows him inside and firmly tells him to leave. Instead, the Baron turns his attention to Daisy. He calls out to her, telling her not to just stand there like an idiot, and orders her to come over. She nervously steps forward. He asks how long it's been since the new Viscount left the mansion. 2 years? 3? Daisy simply tells him the Viscount never left. The Baron pauses, thinking to himself that she's speaking rather bluntly. He asks if the Viscount is in such poor health that he can't even come outside. Daisy looks at him directly and says no. He's healthy. The Baron doesn't give up. He launches into a dramatic story, claiming the former master entrusted the new Viscount Weatherwoods to him, his closest friend. He even wipes away tears, saying he only wants to fulfill his responsibility. He asks Daisy one more time if she's sure nothing has happened to the Viscount. Daisy simply says yeah. Nothing. The Baron's face twists with rage. He shouts that a mere maid is being insolent, and he lunges at her. But in the next moment, he's on the ground. His men don't fare any better. Daisy stands over them and says she's holding back. The head maid rushes in, calling out Miss Daisy's name. She scolds Daisy, reminding her that maids must always endure things. She says even without using strength, they could have dealt with sickly raccoons like them. One of the Baron's men pulls himself up and charges at Daisy, saying she seems to know how to fight. She drops him instantly. The head maid turns to Daisy and asks if she expects her to believe that was holding back. Daisy claims her right hand is just in the middle of a rebellious phase. The head maid tells her she'll discipline it later. Outside, Daisy grabs a shovel and asks if they should bury the men around there. The head maid tells her not to say something so horrifying, then casually suggests placing them in front of the mansion or cutting off their heads as an example. After a pause, she changes her mind and tells Daisy to just sit them down normally. Very normally. So Daisy drags the 3 unconscious men outside the mansion gates. Afterward, the head maid reassures her. Since it was technically self-defense, they should be able to wrap this up properly. She tells Daisy to trust in the Weatherwoods family. Daisy thinks to herself, what else could she do? She's a maid, and the other woman is the head maid. When your superior tells you to do something, you do it. That's what she believed. But the next scene cuts to a dark room. Daisy is sitting at a table across from 2 men. And she reveals the truth. They say another name for a maid is hardship, and in the end, she was sued by the Baron for assault and intimidation. The story flashes back to a few days ago. Daisy Pago is being interviewed by a middle-aged woman wearing glasses and holding a red feather quill. The woman calls candidate number 38 to come in. When Daisy enters the room, she remarks on her beauty before asking for her name. Daisy introduces herself as Daisy Pago. The interviewer is immediately taken aback by her surname, noting that it is the same as Andert Pago, the hero of the Magic War. Daisy quickly brushes it off, saying it is a common name. The interviewer continues with the formalities, noting that Daisy's family consists of one younger brother, and her height of 170 centimeters is quite tall for a woman. She tells Daisy that this will be an advantage for the job she applied for. When asked why she wants to become a maid, Daisy gives a blunt and straightforward answer: money. The interviewer nods at the response, then asks what kind of employer she is looking for. Daisy's reply is unexpectedly dark. She says she wants a mansion so harsh and dreadful that two people could be working together and not even notice if one died. She wants a cruel employer who squeezes every last drop out of their workers. The interviewer looks completely confused. But Daisy adds that it sounds just right for her purposes. The interviewer suddenly gets excited, telling Daisy she is very lucky. She explains that she has secured a position at a mansion located in the bustling district, one of the most prestigious noble families in the empire. She hands Daisy the address. However, the interviewer has one final request. She asks Daisy to last at least 1 week before quitting, just so she can get her referral fee. Daisy arrives at the Weatherwoods estate. Looking at the massive, overgrown iron gates, she thinks to herself that it looks like a demon might come out of it, and even the bell seems to be broken. Unsure of what to do, she decides to wait. After an hour passes, she grows impatient and grabs the metal bars, shaking them vigorously. She figures that if she makes enough noise, someone will eventually come out. Her plan works. The head maid finally appears and opens the gate, apologizing for the delay. She confirms Daisy's identity and introduces herself as the head maid of the Weatherwoods estate. She tells Daisy that normally maids are not allowed to use the front gate or entrance, but in this estate, she can use them however she likes, though she asks her not to shake it like that. She then asks if Daisy has any luggage. Daisy mutters a quiet, The head maid promptly corrects her, reminding her that a proper reply should be, "No, I don't." Daisy corrects herself. The head maid provides the rules of the estate. The owner is Viscount Weatherwoods. The current staff consists of Daisy, the head maid, and a cook and gardener who will arrive in 4 days. The salary is paid on the 1st of every month, and the working hours are from 6 in the morning to 7 in the evening. She escorts Daisy to her room, which is surprisingly large for a maid's quarters. She tells Daisy to rest for a bit, change her clothes, and come to the first floor entrance. Before she leaves, the head maid gives one strict final warning. She tells Daisy that there is one thing she must remember. She must never enter the master's bedroom. And if anyone asks where he is, she is to say he is out. Daisy remains silent, and the head maid demands an answer. Daisy complies with a simple yes. Once inside her room, Daisy shuts the door and collapses onto the bed. She finds the place livable enough for her goal, which is to work here without drawing attention. Her thoughts reveal her true motive. Within the next 3 years, she must find those items, otherwise she will die. The next day, Daisy and the head maid are working nonstop. Daisy is already feeling exhausted, thinking to herself that she is seriously going to die and that this place is insane. The head maid compliments her, saying that things go much faster with 2 people and that Daisy is strong and quick-witted. She admits that it was worth giving a large sum to the registry office clerk to bring Daisy here. Daisy realizes that the clerk was only looking for a payout. As night falls, the head maid notices how late it is and suggests they stop for dinner. Daisy perks up at the mere mention of food. During the meal, Daisy practically inhales her soup and finishes 2 bowls. The head maid watches her with mild exasperation and tells her to keep those thoughts to herself since she is not the cook. The head maid remarks that she has seen countless maids pass through the Weatherwoods household, but she has never seen anyone quite like Daisy. Curious, the head maid asks Daisy how she ended up becoming a maid. Daisy pauses and reflects on the question herself. A flashback flashes before her eyes, a city engulfed in flames, and a blond man in a military uniform falling to the ground, surrounded by blood splatter. Daisy remains silent, holding her spoon, unable to give an answer. Noticing Daisy's silence, the head maid places a hand on her shoulder and tells her she doesn't have to answer if it's hard. She adds that everyone has their own story and carries at least one sad story in their heart. Daisy thinks to herself that she was about to say it was because she's homeless and broke, but quickly decides against it. She fears that if she reveals she's broke, they might treat her even more like a slave. However, contrary to her worries about being mistreated, the next day brings a backbreaking schedule. Daisy is tasked with cleaning the dust from the second-floor ceiling, followed by an endless list of other duties. The days begin to blur together. After dinner, she closes her eyes for just a moment, and when she opens them, it is already the next day, or rather, the day after that. The exhaustion is so severe that she imagines herself as a cow forced to carry the weight of her chores, with heavy stones labeled cleaning the first floor, wiping the second floor, and organizing the basement strapped to her back. After 3 days of such exhausting work, Daisy falls into a deep sleep. But in the dead of night, an intruder makes his move. A figure dressed in a black hooded cloak silently enters her room and stands over her bed, gripping a knife. Without any hesitation, the stranger brings the blade down toward her sleeping form.